Okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. Just recording here for those of you who wanted to attend but couldn't make it, and thanks everyone who could attend. So, our idea, Eileen and my idea today was just to have a casual fireside chat about the power of endings. And to introduce myself, I'm Jess Jordan. I'm an ICF certified life and leadership coach, and I specialize in transitions. I've been fascinated with transitions. I can't even remember since when. I feel like I'm constantly in one, so maybe that's why. And I had the privilege and pleasure of taking a Befriending Death course with Eileen, who led us through just reflections on our own mortality and the growth and expanded capacity that I received from taking that course and the power I felt in really reflecting on my own ending was so impactful that I revel at any chance to chat with Eileen. So that's kind of the impetus for this conversation, especially at the end of the year as we wrap up things. And Eileen, I'll let you introduce yourself before we kick off.
Yeah, great. My name is Eileen Spillane, and I am a nurse of 35 years, many of them spent in the ICU and oncology and a little bit in hospice as well. And I was motivated to create Befriending Death because of so much suffering that I saw in the ICU and wanted to just help people have conversations that they were less afraid of having. And many of people who end up in the ICU or the ER don't know what their wishes are. And they often just say yes under crisis circumstances that most often will add to the burden of suffering for themselves as a patient and for their family. So, in addition to working the founder of Befriending Death and being a nurse, I also am a meditation teacher and a coach. So I incorporate meditation into the courses and into working one on one with clients as well. So, and I'm so excited to be here with you, Jess.
Love that. So the way we thought today could work is for both Eileen and myself to ask each other questions about our experience, what we've experienced with transitions or working with patients at the end of life and working with clients in reflections on death and dying and what shifts we've seen there. And so we're just going to ask each other a few questions, and at the end there'll be time for you all to ask questions as well. And we'll probably stop recording at that point just to preserve confidentiality. But that's our format. So I think Eileen, I'll let you kick us off.
Great. Well, I know you are fresh in the midst of another major life transition, and I was hoping that maybe you could reflect on, like you, I've also had opportunities where I've uprooted my life and moved to new cities and or new towns, and in my early 20s, I moved to Hawaii and lived there for a year. In my mid 30s, I moved from New York City to San Francisco and was in San Francisco for 20 years. And in my mid 50s, I've now moved to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And so I know what transition is like, and I know it can be challenging. And for me, what has worked well, but I've never done it internationally. And I've never done it in a culture that I wasn't already immersed in. And I've never done it in a country that I didn't speak the language. So your transitions are much greater to me and more challenging. And I'm curious what you learned when you moved to Mallorca and what worked well, what you would do again, and what you learned. Maybe I should have done things a little bit differently, and then how that's maybe influencing your move to the Netherlands.
I love that. Well, as you list through your transitions, I'm like, yeah, you're no stranger to them. Now I want to ask you your questions about yeah, your lessons in all of your moves. But the first thing that popped up in my head is that in any transition or change or move, it's not as hard as it looks.
Mm,
So it's like it can feel so like, oh my gosh, it's so far away, or like all the logistics or the language or any barrier that you could imagine, once you're on the ground, it's like any challenge. It's like once you're facing it and it's like, okay, I just need to figure out the next one thing. It's actually not as hard as it looks, right? You're like in the airport. Okay, you just have to figure out how to go to the ATM. And then after that, you have to, it's just like one step after the other. And then on the flip side, it's not as magical as it looks either, right?
Mm.
Like it's so easy to look in at someone's life too. I was actually just talking to a client of mine earlier this week who was like, all these Instagram stories and like the move abroad and the travel, and it's so amazing. And it's like there's also muck and like isolation and frustration. And like for me personally now in Utrecht, it's like I am literally running into people in the street because I don't know. There's like this, all the like nuance that you take for granted of like how people move and flow on a sidewalk. Like I'm totally like I don't, so those kind of things where it's like the little nicks and like stubbing your toe that you've got like the highs and lows. So I'm now even forgetting after the top of my head, I'm forgetting your question. I think you said like, what have I learned and how am I applying differently?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I feel like what I learned, and then how that's informing my transition now, what I learned from my Mallorca move is I let things really just happen organically in Mallorca, which on the one hand is really beautiful because there's no agenda, there's no hurriedness. We were hoping to be there forever for the foreseeable future. Um, and when you don't put intention into something, what I've learned is that it tends to take, even if you put intention into something, things usually take longer than we hope or expect. And so I found that with friendships that I built, with connections, or even discovering parts of the island, because I kind of just like let it happen organically, it took about almost 3 years until I felt like, oh, I actually have a connection. Oh, I feel comfortable. Oh, I feel brave enough to go out or, whatever. And at the 3 year mark is when we just moved. And so that was quite painful. And so now I'm committed to kind of like fast wiring those connections because there's an algorithm, right? It's like the amount of effort that you put in and if it's worth it. And so for me, the community and the relationship piece is huge. And even though I have so many dear friends and connections all over the world, and sometimes I feel like my heart is at capacity, we still need people in our neighborhood and like a shoulder that we can lean on here. And so I'm prioritizing that is the difference. And I'm like overriding the like natural tendency to be shy or to not um yeah, I don't know, like not want to disturb someone and instead being super chatty and like oversharing in the cafe and being like, yeah, we just moved here. And for example, it worked. Like I met a potential friend who was like, "Oh, you're American too," and she's already sent me a million connections. So, um, yeah, kind of like prioritizing the things that I can like get into already, ground running, versus just letting it happen
Mm.
organically. Because sometimes I think you'll see this in with your clients that w when we think, "Oh, we'll get around to it," eventually never comes.
Yeah.
So that's the big theme.
Mhm. Oh, that's great. Love that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and just adding a little bit more about your momentum, because I really
Mm.
love that. I love it so much, but I can't remember the phrase.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's actually a phrase my coach came up with when I w asked to work with her, knowing that this move was coming up, is she was like, okay, it sounds like you want a mindset of momentum. And I was like, yeah, that's what it is. So it's like the mindset of momentum where it's like, because it's so, I don't know, if you're starting from zero or you let yourself take too long of a pause or yeah, just don't for me, especially like even going back like COVID times, right? Like if you let your energy retreat too much and get too comfortable on the couch, it's like
Mhm.
the amount of effort that it takes to put yourself out there. So it's just like moving already is energy. Like we have to be out here anyways, just like keep the ball rolling.
Mm, great.
Yeah. And we need structure and support around us to continue that, right? Because it's like if I'm gonna have low days. I'm gonna feel like giving up. And so if I know someone else, if I know my coach is holding me, if I know someone else is pursuing a goal, that helps. I can borrow their energy when I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, it's great having those structures in place.
Yeah. And to be honest, honestly, I was reflecting on my prior transitions before this, and I've this is the first one I'm being really intentional about. All the other ones I was just reactive to, and um and to be honest, I allowed survival mode to take over, which isn't bad, right? Like I got a lot done in survival mode, and I'm here,
Mhm.
um, and I want to do it differently this time.
Mhm. Love that.
Yeah. Well, do you have any other curiosities about transitions, or is it time
I
to
mean,
turn the table to
I
you?
could talk about transitions forever. I think they're juicy. And I think it's very poignant to honor the endings, like, whatever the ending is. Because to me, practicing with endings is a way to practice with the ultimate ending of our death.
Hmm.
But these small little endings it's a way of like taking that practice on and then letting that inform your living. And
Yeah.
so for, just your great example of like, oh, it was hard in Mallorca, and now I'm going into this with a different approach. And it's like, you don't want that downtime. You want to, want to kind of cut into that downtime. So you're hitting the ground running a little bit more. And, I'm new, be my
Yeah.
friend kind of thing, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Leveraging that energy. And it's interesting what you say, yeah, about transitions. The other important piece I really wanted to share is kind of the beginning of my work with this was a friend told me about this book by William Bridges called Transitions.
Mm,
And if anyone's going through a life change, or I mean, there's so many books on transitions, but it's like we go through an average of five major life quakes in our life
mm,
of like transitions that we haven't expected. And then we go through a major transition, whether it's like major surgery or illness or job change or loss of a pet, right? Like every 1 to 2 years. So it's like we are constantly needing to adapt and navigate these transitions. So like knowing that there's a flow of them is really helpful. And so William Bridges' book really, really opened my mind to that of like we have to honor the ending. There's grief. It's like accepting that there's grief in the ending, harvesting the lessons and the good things of what has passed, and then allowing this liminal space. I think there's a lot of times where people, when they're in between things, whether it's in between relationships, in between jobs, in between educational programs, you can really spin out and freak out. But that's actually like the messy middle
mhm,
is the powerful piece. And if you can sit, as Mary Oliver says, sit with the question, live the question, it formulates it comes, and then you're ready to leap to the next thing, but there's
mhm,
always this flow.
mhm,
And what I think is so cool is that our planet does this for us, right? Like there's reminders of life and death, and also in the seasons, like sometimes we're ready for summer to be over, but sometimes we're not, or sometimes right, like so it's just this reminder that there's just transitions all around us.
Totally, totally. Nature is such a great teacher. And we've got the summer solstice coming up in
Yeah.
just a couple of weeks now.
You mean winter
Oh,
solstice? Are we on the
winter.
same
Yeah.
hemisphere?
You can see. You can see where my mind is.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I'm ready for winter to be over. Actually, everyone told me that December was the worst time to move to the Netherlands because it's cold and dark. And I was like, no, no, we're almost at the shortest day of the year. So we're gonna have light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm.
Um, well, this might be a great time to transition to be
Ba-dum-bum.
asking about what some of the pearls of wisdom that you've gained from all your work as a nurse, but then also intentionally doing work of befriending the end of life and the the philosophy around, the only species that can really contemplate our own death. It's pretty
Hmm.
wild.
Hmm.
And so one of the things that actually spurs and motivates me is the book, The Top Five Regrets of the Death and Dying. I
Hmm.
don't know if you're
Yeah,
familiar with that book.
Bronnie Ware came up with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've always been fascinated, like, yeah, what do people who now are at death's doorstep have to teach us? Um, and the thing that resonated so truly is like so many people regret not living more true to themselves and doing what they
Mhm.
wanted to do, right? And so I'm curious from you being at the bedside and also being with people in their contemplations around death and dying is what have you noticed are um yeah, at the end of someone's life, what are the nuggets that are actually most important to
Yeah.
people?
Yeah, I'd say we're all so individual. And
Mm,
I love Bronnie Ware's, Five Regrets of the Dying because I think they're a fabulous way for all of us to reflect on our life of how am I actually living? Am I going to be on my deathbed and as John O'Donohue says, look back on my life as a life well lived, or am I going to be regretting it? And, because I'm in this work, I'm immersed in it, I look at those pretty regularly. And there's no part of me that's living a life that is going to be regretting it on my deathbed. Some of the regrets are like you didn't live a life that was true to yourself. My life is so uniquely mine. It's very
mhm,
unconventional, for the last 10 years I've spent, half of my time, my summer working as an active travel guide while I'm also at the bedside working as a nurse. Now I teach meditation twice 2 or 3 times a week. I'm teaching these death and dying classes. I still work at the bedside as a nurse one day a week. Like it's such a compilation of the things that I actually love. And another regret is like I worked too hard and I didn't make time for my relationships.
huh.
I actively work at maintaining my relationships, So these are I think when you have the opportunity to befriend death, let it in, whether it's through a course, whether it's through an illness, through yourself or a family member or a friend, let that be your teacher. Let
Mhm,
that in, get a little intimate with it, even if
mhm,
it's scary, it's uncomfortable. Oh, I don't like this. What is it that
mhm,
you don't like about it? And be curious. Then let that align with what's really important to me in my life. Who is important to me in my life? How much am I spending time with that person? Is that somebody I see every 2 years? Well, maybe I should, if that person's really important to me, maybe I need to make a trip happen or have them
mhm,
come visit you or, various different reflections. In my course, in Let's Chat About Death, their last we do very practical things, as you may remember, Jess, but the last session is really letting death inform our living. And a few participants asked me to create a year-long program based on the last session of like, can we like lean into letting death inform our living? And so I created Befriending Death, Befriending Your Life, which is each month, it's a year-long program. Each month has a different theme. And in it, like we're starting up another course in January next month. But the people who took the course last year, it was phenomenal what the life changes they made. Like they ended toxic relationships, whether it was
mm,
with a partner or with a friend. Just because there was history there, they continued this relationship that was not really serving them. Or
yeah.
a dad, was learning to let go of like this my teenager just cannot load the dishwasher and we get into an argument every day and I realize I only have another year or two before she goes off to college. Is that the kind of relationship I want to have, like an argumentative relationship with my daughter? So
Yeah.
he started letting things go. I have people that took up dance. They flew to LA and rented an Airbnb and learned Latin dance.
Oh gosh.
um,
Love
Another
it.
one learning outrigger canoeing, and one of them is 80. So it's just it's each person meets their reflection on their
Mm.
life, aligning their values, and how do I want to bring that into the world that's true for me, which is going to look
Hmm.
all so different for each one of us.
Totally. Okay, so then that also taps into, I think, because I'm personally someone who tries to use like this scarcity model to like motivate me or to like give me clarity around like, okay, you wanted to do that Latin class, but you've been too nervous. But what if you were going to die next year? So do it, right? Like it helps like put the fire under my butt. But what is, I actually, one of my colleagues shared an Adam Grant podcast with me where he was interviewing, and oh my gosh, I will link the name of the author that he was interviewing because it's her concept. But there's like, instead of saying live every day as if it were your last, right? Because like in your program, you're like, okay, a year to live, or like if you contemplated that and the end
Mhm.
and that like scarcity, it's a clarifier, right? And it's like in best case scenario, it motivates you to actually align your actions with your values,
Mhm.
is right.
Mhm.
And there's like a tipping point where then like if you're like, but this moment is so precious, right? You squeeze it till it's dead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so her point was instead of because she was diagnosed with leukemia and has been living with it for years, instead of saying this could be my last day, I want to make it count,
Mhm.
she now says live each day like it's your first.
Mm, mm,
Because it's like there's this more, it's still so valuable, but there's opportunity and potential, right? And so I guess what I'm getting at is like what have you seen either in your personal experience or with folks who've been through your program of like utilizing the contemplation around death and dying as a clarifier, but not an over-indexing on
mhm.
pressure and anxiety to like do all the things, right?
Yeah, yeah. It really is. Like just saying live every day like it's your last, it's so exhausting just even
Yeah,
hearing
you're
that,
like, because
right?
then I need to plan for if I want to ever buy a house. Like,
Right. Right,
if it's
right.
my
There's
last day, I'm gonna spend it in a five-star hotel
no,
or
wouldn't that
whatever.
be so fun, right? I
Yeah.
know. It's like if we could have a crystal ball and know, I mean, I don't think I would really want to know my death
Yeah.
date, but like just a general,
Sense.
decade of like, okay, no, you better start saving harder, or you better start spending harder. There's die with
Yeah.
zero and, these great concepts. Um, yeah, I think it's a balance. It's such a balance of, um, you know, like wanting to live a life that's aligned with your values and holding it loosely. Not
Mm,
clinging, it has to be this way. I've got to do it all right now. But when you say living it like it's your first, for me, what comes up is just a sense of curiosity. And I
mm,
love that, like of going out because I don't know, when you're three, the whole world is a place of curiosity. But
yeah.
there's a way that when we get older, especially when we're doing things that we are proficient at, or we're on autopilot mode, we don't even know how we got there because we're just in, the zone.
Yeah.
We're kind of not bringing that sense of curiosity. Even as a nurse, like I might get report and hear what my patient's story is, and I already, without even knowing this person, I've already made assumptions based on
Yeah.
history with other patients. And what if I suspended that and I could meet this person as a blank slate with a sense of curiosity? Like what a beautiful opportunity there could be for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like to live with the presence. I mean, watching, I have a year and a half year old, and to live with the presence that like she's just in the moment. And obviously, when she's in the moment and upset, it's not so great. But when she's in the moment and just curious and playing, and it's like, that's, I think, what we all strive for. Like, what I get so sick of myself is because, like you said, I've lived a life and I have values, and I am probably operating on a little bit of scarcity mindset of like, I have this constant evaluation of like, is this the best use of my time? Is this the best priority that I need to be like executing on, or like, and it's not often enough that I get to just be in the wonder of
Mm,
where I am, right?
mm,
Um, So yeah, maybe that's my year
Yeah.
of living lesson.
And I think the way you know is getting out of your head and into your heart and your body
Yeah.
where you're like, "Oh, this feels good.
Yeah.
This feels good," rather than like making decisions from your head of like, "I need to do this. I'm in scarcity syndrome mode,"
It's
or whatever.
rational to do this. I committed
Yeah.
to this or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Or,
Yeah.
someone like just this morning, I was in a meeting and someone proposed an idea and I had like a full body no. And I was just like,
Mm.
it's a great suggestion, but it is so no for me right now. And it's like,
Yeah.
I could easily tune that out if I wasn't centered on fully being present with what was going on in my body, not just my head, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, exactly. Because there's so much wisdom there. And that really speaks to your meditation training too. And like that you don't need to rationalize it. Like you don't need to say it's a
Yeah.
no and here's why it's like it can also just be a no, you
No
know?
is a
You don't have to
complete
justify it.
sentence.
Yeah, totally.
Totally
Well,
agree.
yeah, well, beautiful. Well, we're at time already.
Great.
And so maybe I know that you are embarking on another year-long offering to allow folks to join you. And so maybe I'll let you speak a little bit to that and why that was one of my other questions that I didn't get to of like, how do people know they're ready to do this? Because it's so easy to avoid this topic in this conversation. So maybe you could say like, who is ready, what helps people be like, yeah, this is valuable, and what, why would they want to do this work with you for a year?
Yeah, it's a huge commitment, honestly. And it's not right for everybody, but if there's someone who's in a transition, who's kind of feeling in a place of stuckness, or maybe there's some, you know, they're just ready for some kind of change, or they're ready to be living their life aligned with their values and maybe getting out of autopilot mode, it can be great. I have people who took the year-long course last year who actually are signing up again. So I think you could go into deeper layers and explore, different themes because we have different themes each month. So there might be a month on forgiveness, there might be a month on play, there might be a month
Mm,
on building community, so there's a variety of different themes. And you have an opportunity to dig in a little bit further, for the second time around. But certainly for people who are doing it for the first time around, I've got some people who are signed up as a group of friends, which makes it even more fun.
that's
um,
cool.
yeah, so that's for the year-long course called Befriending Your Life. And then our signature course, which we've been doing for 4 years, is 6 sessions, meeting every 2 weeks, called Let's Chat About Death. And we go over a lot of practicalities and getting documents done, having hard conversations, looking at our relationship with aging and
Mm,
illness and accidents, and letting death inform our living. So
yeah.
yeah, we've got that starting in January as well.
I love that. Will you just share in the chat how people can find out more
Yeah,
information about that, or
yeah,
maybe just
yeah,
your LinkedIn link?
yeah,
Awesome. And what I am inviting folks to do too at the
yes,
beginning of this year is basically informed by the fact that time goes so much faster than we're always surprised at how fast time goes. Like we know it's going to go fast and then we're like, "Oh my gosh, can you believe it's already
yeah,
Thursday or it's already the end of 2025?" Um and from my experience of living in Mallorca for 3 years and being like, wow, that flew, and there were a million things that I meant to do that I didn't. Also informed by the fact that my daughter's already a year and a half, and like it just snaps. And so if we don't have some intentionality around what we want to be moving towards, we might let fear win out. So I'm inviting folks to work with me for 2026, either in 3 month or 1 year, if they're like
Ooh.
folks that are work for you, because it always takes a little longer than we think to make things happen. So if you
Yeah, I
want to
love
have,
that. And that kind of speaks to what you were just saying about like feeling that pressure of getting it all in a short
yeah,
time frame where you can have that spaciousness and be working with you for a longer period of time.
Exactly. Exactly. Like we don't have to be counting the days or the sessions. It's like we've got a year. Let's like
Mhm.
trial and error some stuff. So yeah, so I'll link my LinkedIn in the chat too. And so yeah, let's see what questions,
Yeah.
if any, you all have for us. Just I'll pause recording and yeah, ask away. Raise your hand.